Hey COG, uh, testing on some mic stuff, but we'll get started here in a couple of minutes. So hang tight and we'll get this presentation going. All right. Can you guys hear us? I gotta wait a sec because I know we just
Hello,
do.
everyone.
All right. All right.
Hello,
I know
everyone.
there's like a good. People can hear us. So we're getting
Yep.
better at the OBS stuff. Okay. So I know that you bear with us as we do a couple of these. Um, so we're definitely getting more set up and trying to improve latency, improve audio. But as we kind of like preface with all this stuff, bear with us as we start to learn this new technology. But yeah, first and foremost, I want to welcome everybody again to this will be our second game dev meetup. Well, technically our third, but our second one that's community based that we've actually got some of you guys coming in, guys and gals, and otherwise coming in to showcase some of your stuff. I do really want to thank you for everybody's like patience and understanding as we start to move through this more online performance. And it's been exciting because, like we mentioned, I think in the last meeting, if you're first time here, there's been a lot of online resources that we've been piping out that we previously haven't been able to do, just because like we haven't had the ability to take the time to, and this has kind of put a fire under a bus to kind of build out some stuff. We're still doing that. As you may have noticed in some of our messages, we are building out more stuff on the website. So Caleb and I and Scott are getting together and kind of using. We're actually using Squarespace as a way to kind of build stuff out, but we've got a lot of really cool things happening under the hood to kind of come through there. So hang tight as we do that. Um, but yeah, wanted to thank everybody for being here. So what we're gonna go ahead and do is I'm gonna go ahead and showcase some announcements that we have. Let me see. Oh wow. Hold on. There we go. My cursor was gone for some reason. So I'm gonna go ahead and unfull screen just for a sec. There we go. All right. I'll wait until I can see everything. You get to see a little bit behind under the hood, right? We'll find a seamless way of doing that. But cool. So this is June 27th, our Game Dev Meetup. If you're not familiar with this, I'll go ahead and move over. We are a collection of game developers who basically just want to help each other make some games. So basically, our main focus is just funneling game developers together. And so we're a collaboration of other different Central Ohio game developers. Like we have a lot of different universities that we partner with, like CCAD, Columbus State, OSU, and more. We also have sister sites in Ohio. If you're not familiar with that, there is the obviously there's CCAD in Columbus State. Those are Central Ohio. OSU actually has a game group as well. But there's other sites like Cincinnati has a really good one. Cleveland has a really good one. There's a couple of them in, like in Dayton, Youngstown. So if you ever are curious about that, eventually we're working on another part of another like online scheme, so to speak, of getting you those resources, right? Because there's a lot of resources out there. So we've been collaborating with a lot of different groups to get that information and even put it as a landing page for that as well. If you're not familiar, there is a Ohio Game Dev Discord as well. And that's kind of like a centralized kind of blanket of game developers. So if you may or may not have been familiar with our Discord, hopefully a lot of you are. There is also a Ohio Game Dev Discord, and that has a lot of the different developers from around Ohio. So if you're looking for even more help, there's a lot of really good members there. So we will send that out to you guys as well. But yeah, if you're not familiar, we have our meetup page at thecogg.com. Eventually, that's going to be our landing page for a lot of information. Right now, that just goes to our meetup page, which shows all our events. We have our Facebook page, which if you just look at the COGG, you'll find us there. That's a great way to kind of meet a lot of our members too, who've been around for a long time. Discord is new to us as of like a couple months ago. We're slowly growing that. A couple of new things that popped up, I know off the top of my head. Yesterday, I went ahead and made a new channel called Game Jam Shares. So if you have a game jam that you thought would be cool to share, post that there. So I just saw a couple of them. I see them all the time. I'm like, I should show this. So I went ahead and made that. There's one going on for IGDA. If you're not familiar with IGDA, the International Game Developer Association, they basically are a national association that helps other different game groups like ours. But they have a e-jam for students where they actually get professional help from different game developers online. So that sounds like a really cool one. I think that's through this weekend. But that is in the Game Jam Discord channel, Game Jam Shares Discord channel. So be on the lookout for that. There's also a bunch of them kind of coming up too. And as we find them, whether it's something like your traditional Ludum Dare, which is like usually a single person online, like happens 3 or 4 times a year, game jam over a weekend. As those come up, we'll try to post that there and just kind of keep that active. But feel free to add more to that as well. Thanks for everybody being able to, like, that first kind of comes in, being able to introduce themselves and talk to us and get to know us. It helps us understand like who you are and what your background is, because sometimes even during our live events or on-site events, we weren't able to like get to know you guys unless we like talk to you in person, right? So it definitely helps us, but as well as our other audience too. So if you are new and or haven't had a chance to, there's a introduce yourselves channel. Just tell us who you are, what your background is. Are you a programmer, an artist, sound designer, or just interested in what this group is all about? Just let us know and say hi. Like I like to say we're a pretty friendly group, pretty helpful. So we're always happy to see new people, new faces, as well as like creating a resource for those who've been here for a while too. We have a YouTube channel. So it's a bunch of letters and numbers and whatnot. So if you haven't had a chance to and you're on here today, please do subscribe. Once we get up to 100 members, we're at like 63 right now. We will be able to change that to an easier name. I don't know why that's a restriction, but that is something that we're working on. So once we get up to 100 subscribers, it'll be a lot easier for that link. No other reason than that. I honestly don't mind or care if you guys do subscribe. It's always kind of nice, but for the most part, it'd be nice to change the URL. But outside of that, we just want it to be a useful resource for you guys. So kind of moving on, we got a couple of news items coming up. We are doing online meetings in July again. We just kind of been keeping close again with CDC guidelines and the state of Ohio, and it's still a little wavery, right? Like I know places are starting to open up to small groups, but we are still taking the initiative to keep online, and we could be online for a bit longer. I mean, we don't know. It could be, August could be, we could open up, we could not. I mean, but I would, be under the assumption that we're going to be online for a bit longer. But that doesn't mean that we aren't growing and we aren't moving our meetings to new opportunities. So, for example, one of the new things that we opened up thanks to Caleb is we've been getting a new Let's Plays series. So if you haven't seen that yet, there are opportunities to kind of show, talk about games that you guys might be interested in, and being able to showcase that. So we will be doing something in July for a Let's Play, and that's all going to be online as well. And that's going to be a pretty cool way to kind of see and talk about game design and just concepts of like what works well and what could be improved on different games that are out there. If you have ideas,
can I talk about that a little bit, Wes?
Sure, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so if you guys got to see the last one, we did a Let's Play of The Pedestrian, which was a lot of fun. Really had an awesome time doing that. So the idea behind this is as we are trying to promote everybody learning all about game design, becoming better game developers themselves. The idea was, whereas a lot of Let's Plays are just sort of like you have a personality and you're walking through a particular game and talking about the game, the idea behind this is that we'll try to probably take a little bit of a slower walk through the game and focus primarily on the game's design. So looking at UI elements, how the game communicates to you, the player, how to play that. And so really trying to dig into specific pieces of the game. So we want to look at games that do things really well, maybe some games that we do things poorly and why they do them poorly and how they could be done better. So we're looking at a bunch of things, and you all have given some really fantastic suggestions. If you do have any more, feel free to throw those my way. But yeah, we're really excited to look into that. We're looking at the next date and probably the cadence for how we want that to look. But it's going to be kind of a merger between what games you suggest, what games I have available, and I'll go throw up probably 3 or 4 suggestions. Like, hey, these are the kind of the 3 or 4 that we're looking at, and y'all can vote on what do you want to do. So we'll set up a date for that. So really looking forward to that. That should be a lot of fun.
Yep. And there's a lot that we can do. I mean, we were throwing around ideas. Like, if you guys wanted to do something yourselves, like we could do a COGG sanctioned event. It could even be something like, if you guys want to do like a Dungeons and Dragons night or something like that, and a bunch of you want to get together and do a live stream that way, like, let us know. These are just ideas, but we can definitely make them happen. Especially if you guys need help setting that stuff up. And then, like, anytime, people can kind of jump in and watch or be a part of that. So a lot of really cool, exciting stuff to be had. So if you do have ideas, let us know. We're always all ears. We're trying to evolve this this new online network to cater to you guys, to everybody here. So so something that we may have noticed, we did do an announcement. It's nothing too crazy. It's nothing that you guys already don't know, but we are, as part of the website, creating a code of conduct. Again, this isn't anything like you guys don't already do. I think the biggest thing, as we're starting to be a larger group and just being more out there, we're trying to be more inclusive. So just a welcoming, safe space for everybody. So all that basically means is, like, think of it like, there could be families here and whatnot, and that we're always trying to, like, make sure that everybody feels safe. So we just, like, just caution, if you're talking online or doing presentations or even just interacting with different members, just, watch your language or watch, like, how you interact, and just be considerate. That's all. And the cool thing is, like, a lot of us already do that, and that's what's kind of neat, and it's kind of partly why we've never really needed a code of conduct. And for the most part, it's, like I said, it's not going to be anything you guys don't already know, but I think it'll help a lot of new members see that we are, like, thinking about them and how they fit with everything, and how that we are always happy to have new and old members as well. So, like, should be something really exciting. So we'll have that up on the website, and we'll send a note out to that. But again, shouldn't be anything too crazy. So, and then the other big announcement is we had an announcement through GDEX that now it is online. So that is actually clear. We were kind of waiting to see how things go. There's a lot of different options to that, and I would say that if you guys have any questions at all, please let me know. You can private message me. You can email me at info@thecog.com. And or if you see Cody on Discord, he's actually the main person you would want to talk to about GDEX information. He'd be happy to help you guys out too. But for the most part, this is what we're going to be doing this year, and it is actually going to bring in a lot of new opportunities. A lot of them that are going to be coming in a week or two. As we start to finalize a couple of things. We've been carefully looking at different expos and different conventions and seeing what they're doing, as well as kind of like seeing, like, what the notes are for our state and CDC and WHO, like, guidelines. And this is what seemed to make the most sense. So that will be happening, and the date is changed, kind of partly just because a lot of different conventions are changing too. But the date is now October 9th through the 11th, and that will be online. Again, there's a lot of stuff I want to talk about, but we just can't get there yet. So just be on the note that there's some exciting stuff coming on the horizon. So
there is a question for you, Wes, in the chat.
Sure.
I don't. I know Cody's kind of the exhibitor guy, but there's a question on kind of, is there still time to apply to be a quote unquote an exhibitor? Do we know anything about what being an exhibitor is going to look like yet? Or is all that
Yeah,
on the table / ask Cody?
I would definitely ask Cody, partly because things are different, right? I would usually say, well, I mean, in some instance, I would say most of the time we will work our best to accept all exhibitors up almost until the day that we're live, on site or online. But for the most part, I don't see why not. But I would definitely talk to Cody. So I see that. Yeah, I see that as Shield. Yep. Oh, okay. Can you guys still hear me online? I saw that we just lost audio.
Yeah, actually, I'm listening to the YouTube channel. There's still volume coming through the stream.
Okay. Yeah, it seems like it's fine through. I can still hear you. Good. Okay. Good. Yep. So if you guys have questions about GDEX, yeah, let me know. Exhibitors, I would pass that off to Cody. Like I said, I think it should be fine, but don't take my word for it. So I will get with you, Shield, and I'll make sure that you and Cody connect. So, and if you guys are also interested about that, let us know. We do have, obviously it's a little bit different, but it will definitely be a neat experience for participants and attendees to kind of see. So keep close with that. Again, like more news is coming up in the next week or two. So really exciting stuff. So stay tuned. Cool. So I'm gonna go ahead and move on. So we got Andrew today talking about Unity scriptable objects and some other things as well. So we're gonna have that as a primary presentation today. So it is going to be fairly casual today. But for the most part, what's really important about these game dev meetups is not only that it's an opportunity for you guys to present, we'll also be able to get a chance to, talk about what's kind of going on in our little location around Central Ohio. So definitely, if you guys can make it, this is where we're gonna have all the information together. So, and then what we'll have is we'll have some talks, and then after that, join us in our obviously our YouTube channel chat discussions. If you guys have questions during the event, let us know there, and we're happy to answer the questions there. Caleb is going to be there to kind of gather some of those notes and questions that they have, and then we'll open it up for discussions as well. And then afterwards, join us in our Discord channel. If you are not a member of that, let us know in the chat channel, and we'll be happy to kind of send that off. But we'll have people in the general chat and voice channels in Discord as just kind of way to kind of meet and greet. So if you're new, definitely stop in to say hi. A lot of people can be there, and they can have their voice channels on, or they get to know each other. And I'll be there, and I think maybe even Caleb will be there to kind of chime in and see how things are going. But for the most part, it's a great way to meet us and get to talk to us in person. And if you have any questions, we'll be able to ask that there or send that there. So cool. I did see that John said that TorgsCon is trying to do a Christmas show. CorgsCon, sorry. CorgsCon is trying to do a Christmas show, so we'll see how that goes. I know I've been keeping up with them. They're kind of like a retro game convention. They were supposed to do it earlier this year, and or this summer, I forget which, but they're trying to push it towards their Christmas show, which they'll keep on tap. So that's a good note as an update. Yeah, there's other things too. I'm still looking, and I don't know. As we start to get more information, we'll try to do a blast out to you guys. So, like for example, Origins or Ohio, was it Ohio? There's another like game convention I forget, but as we get more of those, we'll send them out. So cool. All right. Did you have any other comments or questions that I may have missed, Caleb, that you're thinking about?
Nothing in the chat anyway.
Okay, cool. All right. Well, if nothing else, I think that's enough of our intro meetups, meetings, information. And we're going to go ahead and get started with our first presentation with Andrew. So let me go ahead and switch over. And I'll cut this out maybe. There we go. And I'll blow this up. Cool. All right. So I think we're ready to get started. So Caleb, when you're ready, if you wanted to bring Andrew over. Torg is scheduled for September 5th. Cool. All right. So yeah, so it looks like Torgs might be open. We'll see how that goes. Thanks, John, for the heads up. That's actually really helpful. All right.
There we go.
Cool. When you're ready, Andrew, if you want to just do a short introduction of who you are and kind of a little bit about what you're working on today. So I'm going to go and switch to your stream.
All right.
Cool.
So my name is Andrew Pullins. I'm from Mindford Studios. I'm going to be talking to you about the about scriptable objects and some of their pitfalls that you might not know about. It's a really short talk and kind of a beginner to intermediate. If you don't know about scriptable objects, then you'll definitely want to use them. If you are using them, you might not know about this this little quirk of Unity. Um, so um, so if you I've got this. Hold on, I'm actually not.
Oh yeah, I see. Are you looking? Because I know that. Oh, I see. Are you? Oh, I see. Your cursor is actually increased on the size at the top.
I've got I've got Windows magnifier open so
Gotcha.
that you
Gotcha.
can
Cool.
so that you can see Unity a little bit better. I know different screen sizes, you might not be able to read what's going on.
Yeah, that's pretty neat.
Yeah. So I've got this script on a game object, and it's
That's
got
very slick. Well done. Very slick.
Yeah.
Pro tip for everybody else.
Oh yeah, I've used it while streaming myself. So you got this integer that you can edit in the inspector. If I press play, it's just a simple game, kind of like a clicker game. If you add things to this, it changes the value in the inspector, and it changes on the screen. If you exit though, come back in, you'll notice that it is still 0. So the way mono behaviors are, the components in Unity, how they work is they reset back to their default value when you exit play mode, which can be nice. It can be interesting to work with. But scriptable objects, if you want to have some sort of persistence, you might learn about scriptable objects. So drag this in. So a scriptable object is a data container. It kind of looks and feels like a mono behavior. So I've selected this. I can create scriptable objects. You just create and can modify this number just like you would a mono behavior. The difference is that scriptable objects, they have persistent data. So if I add numbers to this, it changes the value in the scriptable object. When I exit play mode, the value is still 8. If I go onto my script, mono behavior is 0. So if I go back into play mode, then you will see that the value is still 8. And so you might be thinking that this is a great way you can make super complex scriptable objects, and it's a great way to save your data, which it is. There's an interesting quirk though with Unity, and that is once you build a game, scriptable objects work completely different. So if I increment this game, hit exit, go back in. The scriptable object is 0. That's not how it works in Unity. So it's just a little bit confusing if if you've got you're building a game and you just learned about scriptable objects, you might be using this to persist your data, but the game works completely differently in the editor versus once you actually build. So a way around this, I have developed a save system script. And so what this script does, I get a path, and this is interesting. So this line right here is really cool. What Unity does, you can build to Mac, Linux, PC, Xbox, Switch, Android, like all the different platforms. Application persistent data path. What it does is when you build a package for the different platforms, Unity will actually change this out. So each platform has a different file system. They work completely different. They have a different organization system. You're allowed to put files in different places. You're not allowed putting files. This will, Unity has set up, this is where your game data is set. And then what I did is I have a save folder, and then the name. And then this also is really cool. Path combine. This will actually take care of the slashes for you. So again, all the different platforms they use. So if you look at right here, Windows actually uses the backslash. Mac and Linux, they use the /. If you put these in manually, then your game is not going to work on different platforms. But with this code, you can actually just let Unity take care of all that for you. So the way this save system works, create a binary formatter, create the file, save this game data scriptable object, turn it into JSON, format it as JSON, close the file. So now you have a file on disk on your client, and loading it is exactly the same. Create a binary formatter or whatever you want to use. Open the file, read it, close, return the file back to Unity. So if I go increment, when I load, so I load it and goes back into this scriptable object. If I go, so if I, hold on. Now, if I go into this build, right now there's no file in this folder, but as soon as the game starts up, oh, I'm in a different location. So on Windows, it's in your app data, default company, whatever your project is called. This folder I created, the file, the save location is also I created, and this data file, you can call this because you're creating it and you're reading it, you can call it whatever you want. And it generates this file. This is binary, so it's incomprehensible to humans, but computers can read it. So now I can increment this, play again. and now this acts as if, or how you expected it to work in the editor. So I just kind of so my game that I've been working on, it like almost everything is a scriptable object. I only had one resource tell me about this, and so it doesn't sound like it's super common. But if you're building your game out, you're 6 months into development, you've never actually built your game, you might not know that if you're using scriptable objects this way, this is actually not necessarily how scriptable objects were intended to be used, but you can use it this way.
Yeah, one of the things, just to kind of chime in a little bit, Jason is one of our local programmers, and he was even saying, yeah, I mean, to your point, scriptable objects are not intended to be used as save systems, but they are a way of creating custom serialized asset types. So they're often used to share data among many instantiated objects.
That is their intended use.
Yeah.
So what you're supposed to use these for, so if I go back into Unity, so what I can do,
which is interesting. I'm interested in how you can use them.
So what they're intended to be are, say you have like a enemy stats scriptable object. You have, skellies, orcs, and goblins. You can have a health, attack, defense completely different for each of these scriptable objects, and then you have an enemy component that reads that data in and just starts off the state from that standpoint. That's how you're supposed to use them. But there's a lot of people that might think, oh, I can use this to persist data, and that's not what they're supposed to be used for. But if you need to, you can actually. It is nice because it's really easy to create scriptable objects in the editor, modify their stats a little bit. So if I go into my game, so I actually almost everything in my game is a scriptable object. So this is actually this file is almost identical to what I showed you in the other game. The only real difference is this file instantiates this, which creates this, which creates this, which creates multiple of these things, and I have my save file that I've created. So whatever. Idea of this folder. So I have this fairly complex data structure where stories have nodes, which are what is this? This is a room which has descriptions and has exits, and so almost everything in my game is a scriptable object. So I needed to find a way to save the state of my world, because one of the problems I had is I was using scriptable objects, and I'd have so I'm making a text adventure, if you guys don't know, and in a text adventure you have rooms, and you have items can be in rooms, and monsters can be in rooms. What I discovered is when you take out when you take out an item from a room, because you change scriptable objects on exit play mode, that changed the state of the game. So imagine if you're making a Mario, imagine every single Koopa you killed or every single coin that you collected. When you exit play mode, you had to put the Koopas back in the game or put the coins back in the game. That's basically what I did. It was like, okay, I've got to figure out a way around this. And I had a very convoluted, complicated system in place before. And it was like, this is going to get unwieldy really quick, spaghetti code. So I discovered this way to realize my scriptable objects. And actually, my latest feature. So I was working on this latest feature, and at first I was super disappointed. I was like, the idea in my head was it's really cool, but I was like, this is really complicated. This is going to be really difficult to create. And so like what I wanted is to put a map in the game, and you be able to click on points of interest and like find out more about the points of interest. And so I didn't know exactly how to make the map itself so that I can put it in the game. I was like, I'm just gonna have to just put an image, and that'll be fine, even though that's not what I wanted. But then I kind of remembered, like, wait a minute, I'm making these out of scriptable objects like everything else in the game. And one of the properties of a scriptable object is that you can edit them in play mode, and they persist. So if I push play on this is a special scene. Nothing happens. But oops, not that one. If I add this image, nothing happens. Change the resolution on this. And now oops, where did it go? So now I've got a map. I've got these points of interest I can add. If anyone knows, there's a YouTuber called Sebastian League. I don't know how to say his last name. He created this shape editor, so I can add shapes. So like if this building was super important, I can, in my game, this outline will be, you'll be able to click on this and get whatever's in this description. Or
cool.
Add image log. Make it I can change where it is in the world. And the way I'm doing this is really bad. See this flickering right here. Maybe, I don't know if you can see that. I've got this map creator script, and I'm initializing the state of the map. Then in update, I am setting the image, setting the size. That's the main image of the map. I'm destroying all of my points of interest and then recreating them and then saving the data to the scriptable object. Now, you might be thinking, this is really bad. Don't ever create and destroy in update. Yeah, don't do this. Do not put this in your game. This is super bad. But and it's also not performant. But the thing is, this code right here is never going to be ran on your cell phone. So, and the old programmer joke that it works fine on my computer is actually true. This works fine on my computer. I can create these maps. And then when I actually go into my game, if I'm actually in my map story.
So can I ask a quick question while you're in the midst of it? Is this a tool that you're using specifically in Unity? Like this particular feature that you showed in code,
Yeah.
that is
So yeah,
more about creating the content you need versus publishing it out at the end. Is that right?
exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
I created a theme and scripts. I'm using Unity as a tool to create things that will later go into my game. So right now, if I go to my map screen, that map is now in. So right now, all of the all of these functions that get called to creating a map screen in like every frame. If you don't know, an update this gets called every single frame. That's why it's really bad to create and destroy constantly. Um, and I'm creating a map. I don't care about that. Um, but when I actually make it in the game, I run that once. So I create a map one time in the game. That's what's actually going to be. Um, and the cool thing is, so like I see your home. I forgot to say it again. I just added a new map. So now this is like a country map. You can zoom in, or zoom out rather. This is the world map. If you remember, this forest, it didn't have this picture before. That was actually added to the map. I actually gave the player something, so I can actually add something to the map. One more time, I now have that city map. So I got like an area map, a local map, which is like a country map, and then the world. Like I've got 3 different views. Um, and so like for the area map, what I'm thinking about doing is like you go into a dungeon. I can have fog of war on the map. So like this section of the town you can't see because it's new to you. When you get into that part of town, I can take away the fog image, just like I added a fog image. And I'm not sure why. I'm supposed to be able to click on my points of interest if I look at. So that shape editor I was talking about, I actually generate these meshes. So I'm supposed to be able to click on these things and get a description pop up right here. Yeah, that's. I don't know why that's not working right now. Apparently, I introduced a bug in this latest update.
Welcome to
branch.
GameDev.
Yeah, really.
Yes.
Oh, it could even be the fact that you have a new screen up there at the top. Maybe your resolution in your game window is different or something.
Honestly, that might be it because I did just recently encounter something to that effect. So there are things that's different in this branch that's really annoying. Um, but I also want to call out Caleb, Todd again, I think Shield and Nick. So this feature alone took me about a month. I wasn't expecting it to, but because at first it was really like a small feature. Then it like, oh yeah, I can actually do everything I wanted. In our in the COGG Discord, we've got this help channel and these support voice channels. Those guys that I called out were so freaking helpful. There were just like a couple of mathy bits. I'm not mathematically minded, so there was like getting this image to be here instead of like way over here in world space. It was really annoying, and like I don't know how to math all that much. So like Caleb and some of the guys like got into the voice chat and helped me through that, and it was just like they were performing math, and I was just sitting there going like I don't understand what you're doing, and they're just telling me, okay, try this in your code. And so if you guys don't know about that, that is a very helpful resource, and it's live. Stack Overflow or the Unity or the various forums, it can take a while to get an answer. So just that's a great word. Like go into help, and we've got just start start talking. I'm always on. I've always got Discord up, so if I notice that I'm having trouble, I'd love to come in and help you out or try to learn something myself. Honestly, that's kind of all I got. Is there anything in chat or?
Yeah, just to kind of add to that. So a lot of you guys will post stuff on like Facebook, or you'll email us or talk to during different events. This, especially like right now, this is a great way if you're having a hard time getting through something, like just post in the dev chat channel. That's really what it's made for. We've always wanted something like this. Facebook is good, except it's just not as instantaneous. And if you guys get to a point where you're talking in the dev chat channel and you're just like going back and forth, tell them like, hey, maybe if you guys got a chance, maybe you can just do a call in the voice channel where you can actually stream your desktop, and actually pinpoint exactly where in Unity or whatever the issue is. And it's really great for that. That's what it's really made for. And I'm glad that you guys are using this, and I'm really, really even more excited that a lot of you are helping others in this, because like that's what this is about, right? Like, I think we've all been there where we've gotten to a point where like, man, I'm just stuck. And maybe you figured out, maybe you didn't, maybe you had to have help from somebody else. But that's the cool thing about having a group like this, that we can kind of collaborate together and help each other out, and just kind of a couple of things. So if you happen to be in there, and I know Andrew, you said too, if you happen to know the answer, jump in there and just say, hey, here's my thoughts, here's what I think. And then if it gets kind of really, really challenging, then maybe you can do a call and to get into the voice channel and work on it that way. So yeah, thanks everybody for helping and chiming in too. We've got, yeah. Yep. So she was saying it's definitely about math, absolute math wizards. Something like that when you're talking about screen resolution.
If we were math wizards, it would have happened in like 30 seconds, but it took us like a few hours, maybe.
Yeah, that can happen. Yes.
Let's just say the Unity API is really helpful. Their documentation, super helpful. Use it lots. If you're using Unity, of course.
Yeah. Also, so like right now, this is not on GitHub or anything, but if you want this code, or if you want help implementing something like that, like I said, my game is way more complex than what I showed. Like what, 20 classes right here? I don't know, 10, 15. Wait, 10. There's a lot of ways you can do save data. Yeah, if anyone wants this code, and I'll gladly give it out. It's not on GitHub right now though, but I can put it there if anyone's interested in that.
Yeah. And that just this whole conversation kind of reminds me of like one of the things to keep in mind, especially when you're first making your first game, or you're trying to do a game that's a little bit more complex, that you may need to be able to manage your resources in a certain way. It's good to kind of think ahead of time on how you can either do folder structures or some of these things where maybe they're automated processes. Are really good ways to think about things, like even if it's not code based, right? Because I remember doing when we were working on our game with Multivarious for No Mercy, we had a team developing content for the level design process, and we had to think of a way to create a lot of the like even hand-drawn design concepts and how to bring those into the game. And think about how they're affected by code. So we were actually looking up different techniques of modulating content so that it can be adaptable, and that we can actually have someone as a designer or developer go in and create levels real quickly. So those types of things are good to think about. Definitely in the beginning, it's fine to think of it like of the wild, wild west of just making a game, especially like game jams. It's fine to just make things work at the time being. But as you start to get into it, it's really important to think about the long term of how these concepts kind of need to be thought out in terms of a pipeline. So if you say you have a process to build a level or to build a UI or to create buttons on a map, you have to think about how to make that fairly easy enough for someone to pick up or that you can do, and
Yeah.
modulate that. And if that means, I mean, our programmer as well has created a ton of scripts in Unity to help modulate processes faster so that a designer can get in and create things better, right? And sometimes like that's where the bottleneck is like, well, I can make a level, I can do this UI, but it takes me like half a day to do. Well, can we do that in an hour instead? And again, you don't have to do everything at once, right? You don't have to uh, optimize your game all the time, but if you see a big bottleneck, try to get the bigger things first. And if there's a way to do
Yes,
that, then that's probably the best.
definitely a cautionary tale. It is absolutely possible to spend all of your time and all of your energy building lots of tools and end up with no game. That's like my
That's,
number
Yeah,
one
that's why
pitfall. Is like,
they
ooh, I can make this a little better.
that's why one of the number one indie dev tips and uh, is always just pick an engine. Don't create your own engine. You might be able to do it, and you might like it or whatever. But do you want to make an engine or do you want to make a game? Like, because those are two different things. And if you spend all your time making all the tools, then you don't. That's actually for the longest time, my game looked horrible. I'm actually more artistically minded, and I could do all of it, but I've actually put a moratorium on art. I'm not allowed to do art for my game because if I do all of the art, I won't have a game. Um, so, so yeah, same thing goes for that.
yeah. It's it's kind of weird. You can do some stuff. There's definitely tools out there now that you can do with art and make a prototype real quick. But yeah, a lot of times at the end of the day, it needs to function how it
Yeah,
was, how you're intending it to function first.
yeah,
What do they say? Uh, just make sure. Like, I remember I was talking. I think it was Jason one day about prototyping, and he said if you need to put in something like a purple the you know dinosaur Barney like as a placeholder for your main character because you need to replace that eventually, do it.
yeah,
Because it's better to know that that is a replaceable expendable object and that your main priority is to make sure that that character can run, jump, walk, interact,
yep,
fight, uh blast a missile or something like that, which would be hilarious for Barney. That's another game. uh
yep.
but yeah, just as long as you know that it's going to be changed later, then that's
Mhm.
that's obviously perfectly fine.
That's
So
what that's what companies like Nintendo, the first year of development on a Mario game, they have white boxes. It's just a white. You're walking on a white plane with white cubes everywhere, um, and because they want to. The most important aspect of a Mario game is it has to feel good to control Mario and jump and do the backflips and all the wall jumps that he does. So like for the first year of their development, like it looks like a prototype because they're working on making the feel of the game as good as possible. Um, yeah. Um, Another thing that I actually just learned this, if I don't know that this is a frustration of Unity. I understand why this happens, but so I just renamed my game data to this int into number two. But go back into Unity. Once it loads, I get a bunch of errors because it's not. I should have did it the other way. I should have this. So right now, number is 8. Wait, are you serious? I cannot stand VS Code right now. I'm having a lot of issues with VS Code. I'm about to possibly spend some money on another editor. So anyway, so I just changed number to number two, and that this value got changed. Now in this example, it's not a big deal because I only have 3 scriptable objects. But if I go to my game, to load up short story, so every single one of these descriptions, like I've got to bug out real bad. I've got hundreds of these nodes, and if I change the field on a single node, every single node will be different, or will be erased rather.
Oh wow.
What I just found out, I can actually say yes. Go back to, so formerly serialized as number 2. Oh shoot, I shouldn't have saved that yet. So if it's got to load. If I add some data to the scriptable object, change it to number the way it was initially, change all these back. So now when Unity loads, when you have that course, oh, I want to see the file. So now when Unity or this doesn't work, I don't know why. What is, do I need I need Unity serialization, apparently. Now, when Unity loads all of these numbers, or all of these scriptable objects, it changed number, or that variable, but kept its value. It reloaded all of the scripts, and I can get rid of this. That's a problem that I had a lot, because as your game changes, the design changes a little bit, and your features change just slightly, and like you can erase a lot of data that way. This formerly serialized as attribute would have been so helpful like 10 months ago, but so yeah, that's kind of all I've got. Anything else from you guys? Is there anything in the chat?
Not that I caught, Caleb.
Nope, nothing in the chat. Nothing in the chat.
Okay.
But I did have a question.
Nodge wants a Barney shooting rocket, so somebody get on that.
Yes. So I had a question for you. So since this is connected to the game you're making, like where's your status at? What are you guys planning on doing? And I think you're working with, is this the game you're working on with somebody else as well, or is that a different game?
No, it is this game. So I do have a business partner now. What we're doing is, so this is again, it's a text adventure. What we're doing, so he's not super technical. He's working on, me and him are working on world building, because obviously you need to have a world in order to like put your story in. It's a little bit more interesting that way. So we're working on the creation of the world, and like, do we have elves? Do we have orcs? Like, what do these civilizations look like? All of that kind of stuff. Eventually we're going to actually work on a good story. My short story is it's kind of like developer art. Doesn't look good right now. It's a really crappy story, but it shows off all of the
Oh. Did we lose ya? Caleb, can you hear anything?
Yeah, I think we lost him.
Okay. Andrew, if you can hear us, can you log out and log back in? I'm going to go ahead and see if we can
Left us
fix
on a cliffhanger too. Yeah. Next time on Live COGG.
it. Cool. Yeah, I think it was. It is what it is.
It is what it is. That's so it was once said, you know, it's not really live if something doesn't go wrong.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Did something just happen to stream or something?
Yeah.
We lost you.
It froze.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the stream menu froze. Like, and then we couldn't hear you.
All right. So what was the last thing do you remember what it? Okay.
Well, I remember we. I forget what we were like. I know that you were talking about your business partner.
Oh,
And,
okay.
A game.
Yeah.
And the game story, making a better
Yeah.
story,
Okay.
that kind of thing.
So yeah, that's what the story in the world is what he's working on. I'm helping out a little bit, but what I'm working on are skills for the game. So if you didn't hear this, a text adventure is like reading a book, and then whatever the character, whatever choices the character has, you can dictate what he does, and you can change the outcome of the book. So I'm working on a skill system where you'll be able to level up skills. And so if I go and this story is nonsensical, but it's just to demonstrate what I can do. So you enter this room, an ogre swings at you, and if that hurt, but you'll be okay. You get back on your feet. So let's pretend earlier in the story I was hurt by something else. If so, hurt me please. I'm one more health taken away. So like instead of having full health, I have a little bit less health now. An ogre swings his club at you. That hurt a little beat up. You get back on your feet and move on. Now, if I do this again, I got lost even more health. So I've got like half health or something. I come into this room. The ogre swings his club at you with a crunch. Although nearly dead, you get back on your feet and move on. -1 health. So here, wading through the hot spring was really relaxing. +2 health. Perception fail. You search the room and you don't see anything of interest. Let's try this again, but I gain perception. Perception check passed. You search the room and you happen to be up on a book of unholy symbol. You didn't know that the queen was into such dark magic. Yoink. Exit. Strength check failed. So the earth quakes and the cave collapses in. So the path ahead of you gets blocked away, and so if I try to uncover this, my strength text failed, and after 30 minutes, nothing happens. Right. Now let's say that I went to my stat screen before and I put skills into strength. Oh shoot, are you?
Are
back
you?
on?
Oh, were you streaming something, or were you just describing your notes?
No, I was. So did you not see what I was viewing?
No, I'm sorry. It doesn't show anything on
Ah,
screen, so I assumed you were describing what the gameplay was like.
oh no, I was actually showing
Sorry about
basic.
that.
So
I see it now.
yeah, so like this.
Oh, I see. Yes, yes. Sorry about that.
Basically, I can give the player points in different stats, and I'm working on a system where they can level up different stats. So like if you enter this room and you don't have enough strength, then you can't uncover the rocks. But now that I have enough strength, I can actually go through this exit. Um,
Okay.
so I'm sorry if that was really again, I said that was a nonsensical
No, it's fine.
story,
Yeah.
but so yeah, that's what I'm working on. The game. The only feature that I really need to do is a way to undo and go back to a previous checkpoint. Once I like this shouldn't take me too much longer to do. Once I get that done, it's like this game's practically done, and then it's just a ton of polish. So this old statement, not once you're 90% done with your game, you still have 90% left to go. Um, so that's kind of where I'm at with this. I'm almost done with all of the major features, and I just have um, uh, just a lot of polish and writing a story, getting something out to people.
Well, that's the cool thing is that you'll have a lot of things in place to get you started with a story once you get some of these other things figured out. So, um, but yeah, definitely excited to see where it's going. I know I played this in person when it was on the phone, which was pretty cool. So it's looking great.
Shut up, Joe. Thanks, Jason.
Yeah,
Uh, Joe's my developer friend that's been helping me, and yeah, yes, the game is almost done. I
that's
just have 90% left to do.
that's every developer's statement. It's almost done. It's almost done.
Yeah.
It's technically never done. It's never done. It's just at a point where you decide to put it out there, right?
Yep. Yep.
So, but yeah, so
Yeah, even the
looking
map
pretty good.
feature is done. Yeah, thanks.
Oh,
So yeah, I've got nothing else.
yeah. I think that will probably do it for now. I think we're actually going to have probably one more presenter after this. But one thing I wanted to
Cool.
ask you, Andrew, you said that
Yep,
you
we've got
had.
another presenter.
You do? Okay. I wanted to ask you. You said you had, or anything in general. You said you had a GitHub potentially that maybe people could take a look at. If that's something you're willing to share, let us know. You could put it in the chat channel. We'll put it up in Discord or the YouTube video. If you want to share that, let us know. I think that'll be a great way for
Okay.
people to kind of see kind of a little bit of what you're working on. Because I know you said not all of it's there, but then again, if someone wants to reach out to you about more specifics about the code, like you can let them know too. But yeah, keep us posted. And again, if you guys ever want to, I mean, it's totally up to you. But if you ever want to share stuff during prototype and play, we'd love to have you as well. So, but yeah. Thanks a lot. Appreciate that presentation on Unity scriptable information. And then if you have anything else that you want to have us share with the group, just let us know and we'll put them in the correct networks. Most likely Discord and YouTube. So, cool. All right. Any last words before we jump out? Nope.
No, I don't have anything.
Okay. All right. Cool. So I'll go ahead and move on to the next presenter. So Caleb, when you're ready, we'll have.
Do you have the trans?
Yep. At least it should. OBS says it is. So, yeah. No, it's all good.
All right.
All right.
I'm actually. Let me pop into the green room. I'll be back. One moment.
Cool. No problem. Sweet. Yep. So we'll get you guys more information on that content. So next coming up is Shield. So he's got a little bit of something to showcase as well. But again, if you guys, I mean, kind of like what we were doing before with our other game dev meetups, sometimes we'll get folks like during the meeting like, hey, I wanted to share something real quick. And if it's like, an announcement, or if it's like something that you can whip together real quick, let us know. We'll try our best to kind of showcase it. Technicality reasons why, we may or may not, just depending if, things kind of get hung up. But we want to. Like, if you are in these meetings and you send us a message in Discord or the YouTube chat channel, and you want them
All right,
to...
I am back, and I'm going to bring Shield in.
Cool. Yeah. So as I was noting, if you want to showcase something during these events, let us know. We'll try our best to get you in. So, because we want to make sure you guys have the platform to showcase. All right. And then we'll see. Were you able to get the audio to work okay, Shield?
Yes. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you. You're going through OBS. So
all right. Good. So I'm not using OBS or anything. I'm just going to stream through Discord.
Yep, that's fine.
Aha, here it is. Okay. All right. Hi, everyone. I'm Shield. You probably already know me already. I've been working in Unity for about 4 or 5 years, and I've been working with GitHub for about 7 years. So today, I want to talk to you about source control. So I imagine a lot of you out there are professional developers, and you already know what source control is and how to use it and stuff. So if you do know how to use it, there probably won't be any new information for you unless you don't know how to use Unity. But if you're a beginner, then this will be very helpful and will save you a lot of hassle and trouble. Because in my experience, it saved me a lot of trouble. But the thing is, this topic is a bit more complex than I thought it was, because last time I tried to teach people this in person, they had a lot of trouble with it, and it's because, I use it for so long, I just forgot how troublesome it was. But anyway, well, so you hear...
I was just going to say, Shield, if you need help, I'm not a programmer at all. And I understand source control a little bit, so maybe I can help to interject if I feel like, ooh, maybe that's something we should chime into a little bit more.
That's a really good idea, Wes. I would be helpful.
Do you have something that you were wanting to share, or is this like a conversation?
Oh, I totally have something to screen share.
Okay.
So before I screen share, I wanted to ask a question.
Oh, okay, cool. Good. Sounds good.
Yeah, he's my presentation partner today. So those of you in the chat, can you name one type of source control or one service that provides source control? I'll give you 10 seconds.
I will say...
Wes, do you want to switch the presentation? We're still on the next presenter slide.
Aha. Well, good thing we're not really showing anything.
Yeah.
I knew that. That's okay. This is literally all we were seeing.
All right, so, 5, 4, 3.
Source
2,
tree, tortoise
1.
Git, GitHub,
Perforce,
SVN.
Yeah. Oh no,
SVN. There's a lot of them. Oh, there's one called Kraken.
Git Kraken. I've used that one.
Yeah, I didn't like it. I thought it was okay, but for me, I got lost in the weeds in it.
So Performance Helix, SVN. I've used that one before. Git, that's my favorite. Azure DevOps, SourceSafe. Git Kraken, I've used that one too. But I prefer GitHub. I mean, I think it's just I got used to the interface, and Git Kraken has all these buttons that do stuff I don't need to know about. No, the biggest thing with Git Kraken is that it hides how many updates you need to pull. Like, it's not very obvious.
Yes, but, that's where I got hung up.
So let me share my screen here. Which I have 4 screens to share. That
you'll have to do one. Yeah. There we go.
All right, here we go. So you want to make so for those of you who don't know what source control is, but it sounds like a lot of you do. To me, it's a giant undo button. So what that means is that you can make any kind of changes to your code or your art or whatever, and no matter how many changes you make or how bad you screw things up, you can always get that old version back, and so you never lose anything. And that's like one of the big things that to me source control helps with. But on a day-to-day use, to me, it also helps to it tells me what I've changed, so I know where I'm going and where I've been. So like if I change a line of code, I know what line of code got changed and stuff, which is pretty handy. So there's several different things out there, as you all know. I'm going to talk specifically about Unity and GitHub because there's some things about making a repository for Unity that isn't all that obvious, and it took me a couple of times of trial and error to actually get it to work when I was first starting to use Unity. So here we go. So first off, you need to make a project in Unity, which you probably already have made, and make it whatever you want. But the thing is, you have to. Oh wait, not add new. I meant to say new. Okay, so when you make a project, you can do whatever you want, but the key thing here is that you can't do what new Unity project does. It's because it has spaces in the middle. So you can't have any spaces. If you need to have spaces, you do underscores instead, because GitHub repositories require that the folders have no spaces in them. So that's also that requirement is then passed on to the Unity folder too. So I'm going to click create here, except I'm not because I already have the project made, but you would do that. So I have this project already here. I'm going to switch to that. So here is my project, and I have like a sample scene. I've just started this project just today, so it has nothing in it at all. But I want to show you the folder. Create folder. Oops, nope, that's the wrong one. Show and explore, that's the one. Okay, so here's my folder. So I have it inside of my Unity folder that has all my other projects in it. And notice the folder name is test project with no spaces. It has all my assets and libraries and stuff in here. So now I have my Unity project made. I have to go to, if you don't have it set already, you have to go to, I think it's preferences, internal tools. It's in one of these.
Oh yeah, they have a lot of plugins nowadays in the newer versions of Unity that's been so helpful. Like being able to assign your script editor has been like so good, because mono-develop was just like a pain. It was such a pain years ago.
Oh yeah, and Visual Studio is great. I love it.
Yeah, it's really solid.
So you go to edit and then project settings, and project settings you go to editor, and the key thing here is version control. It says mode visible meta files. So I think the default is hidden meta files, but you change it once and it changes it for all. Okay, it changes it for all your future projects pretty much. So visible meta files is the way to go for this. And then for asset serialization, you want to do mode force text. Now the reason why you want to do this is because if you don't, then all your files in Unity, like the scene files, they're going to be in binary. And you can version those, but then you're not going to be able to tell what the changes are. Now, to be fair, when you see these files, you're not really going to know what the changes are either, but you can actually kind of make some idea of what they are. So here, for example, if I go to the scene file here, it's in force text mode. So if I open this in Notepad, then you'll see that I have text here. And I don't really understand what all this stuff means, but if you're working in Git and you can see a change that was made, you kind of make out what the change was a little bit. But for dealing with merge commits, it's a lot easier to do merges with text than it is binary. So it's essential that you have this setting set. Visible meta files and force text.
And something that I've noticed a lot is, so that's the thing, right? So to kind of describe source control is that you're taking whatever you have built and changing is what you're pushing back up to an external source to be pulled later, either for yourself or somebody else working on it. And so sometimes what I've noticed that's been challenging about Unity projects, and this is the same thing for, like, say if you're building a website or if you're building an application, you want to know what changes are made and you want those to be accurate, because you don't want to push anything you don't need or to pull anything you don't need, right? And so what sometimes happens in Unity projects, especially with like meta files, which sometimes gets created with certain file types in Unity, actually a lot of them, some of those things don't need to be pulled or pushed. And so this setup here, if I'm right, Shield, is this what's kind of helping you kind of weed through that information a little bit better?
Yes, so that's one thing that GitHub does help me do, is it helps me see what changes I've made since the last time I committed. And yeah, like you said, it also, when I make a change and it's a modular change, I can send it to the cloud, and then later if I want to undo that one particular change, I can. So there's several different uses there, and I'm going to show you them in just a second here. So the first, before I do that, I have to actually set up the repository. So you see here, I don't have any repository that is for this test project. So
And
what
this,
you need to
this
do
is GitHub, right? An application on your PC?
yes. So
Okay.
let me go to github.com so you guys can see like how to. This is not it. That's my default thing. Okay, there we go. All right, so this is github.com, and oh wait, okay. So you do need to make an account on this website because that's like how you use GitHub Desktop. But I don't know actually how to get to the desktop download from here, so I always Google it. GitHub Desktop, simple collaboration for your desktop, and download for Windows 64-bit. And you'll get a program that looks like this. That's in light mode. I'm using dark mode. So yeah, get that program, and well, that's if you don't have one already, then I definitely recommend using this one. Okay, so I have GitHub Desktop downloaded. I've logged in and everything, and I want to make a new repository for my Unity project folder. So I go to File, and I go to New Repository, and now I'm going to type in the repository name. And this is the part that is tricky, but is very important. So the repository name has to match the folder name that you have in your Unity project. So here I have, and the easiest way to make sure that they match is to go to the folder name here and copy it. I do Control-C, then go to here and do Control-V to paste it, and we got a test project, and it's the exact same thing that we have with folder name for Unity. So description, test project for demoing GitHub. Oh, I love GitHub. Gotta make sure I spell the capital I correctly. Okay, so here's the tricky part. So local path Unity. So should I put test project here, or should I not? Does anybody know the answer? I'll give you 5 seconds.
I would say no, but I'll see what the results say.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, so it's ladder. People don't know. So the answer is, you got it, Wes. It is no, and the reason being is because it makes the folder if it's not there already, and puts all your repository stuff in that folder. So, and the folder name is actually going to be what the name of the repository is. So that's the part that's confusing a lot of times, especially if the local path isn't already set to your Unity folder. Like usually it'll be set to like GitHub, like repos or something. Okay, so the next step is you have to have a git ignore. Well, you don't have to, but it's recommended because there's a lot of library folders that you really don't want in your repository because they really have nothing to do with your project specifically. So you have to go down to the use and find Unity. So git ignore Unity. And the README thing, that's optional. License, that's optional. You can do those if you want. But the important thing is same name as your Unity folder, and the parent folder to your Unity folder, and then git ignore Unity, create repository.
So this is actually going to create files within your Unity project folder that you've created on your computer. That are
Yes.
Yeah, that's interesting. Okay, yeah.
So here are the files that it created. So it created the .git attributes, the .git ignore, and the .git.
Yes.
The .git ignore is really important, but we'll talk about that later if we need to. We might not even need to talk about it. Because that's Git specifically, that's not Unity specific. Okay, so now we have a test project, and here we have changes. And you'll notice that when we start off, we don't have any changes, even though we have all these files that we haven't ever committed. But the thing is, when you create the repository, GitHub automatically creates an initial commit with all of your files that you have in the folder already, which is pretty handy. I remember I used to have to do that by hand, but now they made it automatic, and I'm so happy they did that because that makes it so much easier for me. Okay, so now we have to make some changes. So we can either write a script or we can like make a dude or something. So I'm going to vote. Let's draw a picture. Guys, I need some ideas. What should I draw for a sprite? Like a first sprite.
A clown.
A clown?
I guess.
Okay,
I
all
was
right.
gonna go with a smiley face, but
Yes, so whatever you want. Easy.
yeah, something super easy.
Alright, let's see,
Michelangelo doing 3 backflips on the side of California's ocean shores, balancing a pony.
Wait, what? Okay, so I heard Michelangelo and pony.
No, just do whatever.
I'm doing this with the mouse, by the way. My stylus isn't working today.
I like the kitty.
The pony,
Yes.
ladies and gentlemen.
Yes.
I don't know, what does his hair look like?
That I think that is absolutely amazing. That's one of the most amazing things I've ever
I
seen.
mean,
Okay.
it's indistinguishable for me.
Oh, I think he looks like Potato, but that's like how I draw people under pressure.
Yeah, I said that, Michael Potato.
Oh my!
Oh, you did? Oh,
No.
you must have gotten into my subconscious.
No, I'm being sarcastic. Michael Potato.
Okay, well, he
There
has
you
to have
go.
some kind of color. Okay, well, I didn't draw this correctly, as you guys can tell, but
That's fine.
it's doable.
Yeah,
Okay, all right. So now you want to save this
perfect.
file into your Unity folder. So navigate to your Unity folder, wherever that might be. And I had to remember, how did I get there? Oh, here it is. Okay, so assets, and then test project. And then usually you have like a folder for these things like sprites. That's not essential to this tutorial, but you know, you can do it whatever you want. And this is Mike, Egg, Angelo, Pony. Okay.
Sounds good.
All right, so we have a new picture here, and we can drag it into the scene and whatever. So we have this guy, and you know, there's a whole bunch of things with like importing pictures and stuff in Unity, but that's like beyond the scope of this tutorial. The key thing here is I made the picture, I put it in the scene, and I could do a Control S to save the scene. And now I'm going to go to GitHub, and you'll see I have these 4 changes here. So you'll see that the green means I've added a file, and the yellow means I've modified a file. Later on, we're going to see a red, which means you deleted a file. So here we have a meta file for the sprites folder. So Unity makes meta files for everything, and some programs you don't want to commit the meta files because they just like generate information that the program uses to make things go faster. But with Unity, you have to always commit the meta files because the meta files contain important information about how the image is going to be displayed and how like the asset is going to be used. So I don't think the folder is all that important as a meta file, but I commit those anyway because who knows, maybe Unity is actually using that and it could be edited or something. So I got all this stuff, and one thing I do is I check it all the changes that are in the list here and make sure that they are changes that I meant to make or that I'm okay with committing altogether. So, so I have the changes here, and you can check them and not check them. And if they're checked, then they're going to be committed when you press commit to master. So I'm going to commit all of these. So I'm going to check all of them. So now I'm going to write a message. Add Mike, Egg, Angelo, Pony Sprite. All right, Control Enter. Well, actually, commit to master.
You know, that's something good to note is that, so what he's doing now is he's making a version of the project at this state. And it's important to be fairly descriptive of what that summary is and or description, because if you, I mean, for you, you may not need to be, but if you start bringing on people into the project, especially later down the pipeline, and they need to revert back to another one or grab something that was in a previous build, they need to know what that is. And if you just say, this is when I messed up as a commit, they're not going to know what that was. And you're not, and a year later, a year later, you may not know either, right? So you want to be descriptive if you can, because otherwise you're going to kick yourself in the foot later.
That is a very good point. And so one thing to note is that sometimes that happens where, like, I'm going to look at a little circle here, and I'm going to press save, and let's see what it does. It does this. Now look, the default commit message is update Mike Egg Angelo Pony.png and commit to master. That is not a very good, that is not a very helpful, like, if it's a sprite, maybe it's okay, but usually you'd want to say what you did, like add a circle or something, or like what you changed. But this update thing, like Wes says, is not very helpful. But it's in the right format, I guess. So they say that when you're committing things, the easier to read format is verb in present tense, and then the thing that happened. So like, if you could use it in a sentence, it would be like, if you download this commit, it will blank. It will update Mike. It will add Mike. So this is an exception, but that one's okay. It's the first one. Or like, it will implement the UI interface, or it will refactor the old code or something like that. So as examples of good commit messages, I struggle with that. It's hard to do sometimes, but just try your best to always give a good commit message. Okay, so now we have the repository, and I want to publish it. So let's go to publish repository and do whatever you want here. Go to private. I'm going to keep it public. It doesn't matter. In organization, I don't know what that does, but okay. So here we go. Publish repository. Now you'll see that this button changes depending on this current state of the repository, and I'll show you in a bit here what this is doing.
And you're publishing to the master branch, right?
Yes.
And sorry, could I ask as well, and we can go over this in more detail, but is this a what do they call it? There's Mercurial, and then there's just Git, right? So this is Git a process, right? Because I know there's different flavors of source control.
Yes. That is a very good point. Is that there's a different what do you call them? Libraries? There's different like underlying version control engines. Like there's SVN, there's Git, there's Mercurial. There's other ones that people listed in the chat here. And there, on top of those engines, there are interfaces. So Git is an engine, and GitHub is an interface. So underlying all these is doing Git commands. So that's the reason why you can have Git, GitLab, GitKraken, Bitbucket, SourceTree. You can have all these guys using Git, and you can have a repository that is being used by all those different programs, and they all work together because they're all underlying all their programming is using Git.
Right. So and to kind of add to that is like the reason why, because I've never seen this user interface, this program, this software before. But I'm totally following along because I use a program called Source Control, but the process we use is Git.
SourceTree?
SourceTree, sorry. Yeah, SourceTree.
Yes.
So Yeah. So all this sounds familiar to me. But just so you know, like there can be other programs you can use to get to that. People can use DOS command. You can use DOS command.
Yes.
If you want
they even
to.
give you an option to do that here in GitHub Desktop. Where is it?
Open in command prompt.
Yes, here it is.
Yeah, so if you're really
Oh, well, apparently you have to have
install.
Git installed separately.
Yeah.
Yeah,
they'll do
but
that.
You can do it. Yeah, okay.
Sorry, I didn't mean to get off
you
on
are
too much.
Actually, going to get to see it in a minute. Don't worry.
Sorry, I don't mean to get off on a tangent.
Oh, yes. Okay. All right. So, speaking of Caleb popping in unannounced, he is actually here for a surprise.
Oh.
Let's say like I have some scripts and stuff, and I have like a whole bunch of stuff, and I'm ready to take more people onto the project, or like I want some collaborators. So how do you do that? Well, if you're using GitHub, which I am, then you can go to. Okay, so here I'm going to go to changes, and I'm going to discard this change because I don't actually want to update the purple circle there. Right click, discard changes. That's if you get into trouble and you did something that you didn't want to do, then you could do that, discard changes. So now I want to I want to view on GitHub. So that's Control-Shift-G, which is I usually use. We can also click on the button if it's displayed here. So here I have my project GitHub page, and you can see it has all the folders here, so you can browse all the folders and stuff. You can actually use this to see all the past versions of every single file you have here, which is really handy. What we're interested in doing right now is going to settings and going to permissions or manage access. So I have to confirm my personal GitHub password. Let's see if I remember this. Pop quiz. All right, I do.
Starts with a dot. Ends with a dot.
Got a couple dots.
I'm not telling. Okay, so invite a collaborator. Okay, so I'm expecting that my collaborator already has an account on GitHub, which Caleb here does, and his thing is this: invite collaborator, add this guy to test project. Okay, so now I'm waiting for him to get the invite and download the project and everything. I'm assuming that he already has GitHub Desktop or another client of his choice, and he can download the file and open it in Unity and make a change. So take it away, Caleb.
Yeah, so I just got your invitation. I am getting myself added into the repository here. Now I'm going to do a little bit of OBS magic. And let's see, does this work?
If you ever want to share the screen, just let me know.
Yeah, actually, Wes, what I would like you to do, I'm gonna shrink myself down a little bit. And let's see if I can, yeah, there we go. I'm gonna put some code behind me.
It is backwards, so it's very interesting.
Oh no, it's backwards for you on Discord, right? Or is it backwards on YouTube too?
Oh, it is backwards on YouTube.
It is backwards on YouTube. All right, let's see here then.
Optical illusion day.
Wait, no,
right.
it's just all in Russian.
Oh no. Let's see.
That would be funny. Little did we know Russian is just English backwards. There you go. I think that worked.
Yeah.
Now is this going to mess you up?
No, it's all right. I'm good. The most important thing is if that's visible. So what you can actually do, Wes, is if you click on my window, it'll make my window the centered window.
It is. Yep.
Oh, okay. That's all right. I've got a lot of screens going on. So
yes, you're good to go.
Okay. Fantastic. All right, so I'm here on Git. I'm actually going to go snag the ability to download it. So I'm going to grab this. So yeah, so I'm actually using Git from the command line. So this is probably something, if you're a programming type, you're probably a little more familiar with using something like this. If you do web development, you're almost certainly using this. So this is basically all that this is doing is the desktop app that Shield was using is a wrapper for what I will be doing. So it'll basically be the same thing. So I'm going to type a quick git clone command here, and that will actually allow me to download the test project. So if we go into the test project, we can actually see we got some assets, packages, projects here. And I'll go into assets, and we've got new folder, meta, sprites. Let's go take a look at sprites. Or oops. I can type. All right. Oh, look. There's the Mike, Egg, Angelo, Pony, PNG. Fantastic. Okay, so we can confirm that everything is downloaded correctly. We are working. And actually, what's really cool, if we do get log, the printout that we get here is we can see the commit message that Shield posted here. So this is all of there's the initial commit here, here's the commit that posted. And so the two separate things, the creation of the Git repo and then also subsequently the addition of the image, those are two separate commits, and I can see the history of both of those things. And this is how Git works, is you can go back and forward through this history. So I can add a whole bunch of stuff, or I could go backwards in history as needed. So you always get these little snapshots of everything that's going on. So what I can do now is let me go ahead and open this up in Unity.
Sorry, one question before you move too far away. That top
absolutely
link that you grabbed the URL from, did you copy that from the GitHub website, or did you grab that through? Okay, just making sure, because there's a lot you can do once you have that, right? You can search through anything.
Yeah. So if I throw this up here. So this is actually my desktop. Always dangerous to show one's desktop during a live presentation. But I can do this is the GitHub website, and the way that I got that link was I clicked this clone drop down.
Yep.
And this is it here.
I usually click clone in desktop.
Yeah.
And
desktop application. So
and I can even do that through, like I said, source tree. Now source tree, you can do it through the website and open up the application once the web browser has permission to do so. And it's the same. The neat thing is that you're using different programs, whether it's DOS or source tree or whatever, but they're all accessing the same structure that is Git, which is interesting. So it's kind of the streamlined foundation that all of them can access similar things, if not the same thing pretty much, depending on what version of Git you have. So cool. Sorry, I didn't mean to derail you.
No, you're fine. I'm actually, that was perfect, because I'm popping in here to grab the test project here.
Yeah. Well, actually, so something else, not to throw this off too much of a loop, and I don't want to get too far into this because again, source control can get pretty lengthy. But so we won't get too far, but a short note I wanted to explain. In a larger project, it's good to learn something called LSF packaging. So basically what happens in your source control, especially in game development, most of the content that you have starting off is going to just be scripts and code and small snippets of text. Those are very small in comparison to larger files like audio and images, sprites, 3D models, all that good stuff. What happens is that if you're bringing on bigger, like you have a large project and you want to bring on a couple of people, it may take a while to download those bigger assets. So what you probably need to start looking into when your project gets bigger, say if it's like a couple of gigabytes, you should look into something called, I think it's, again, LSF, but it's a large file format like process of your source control. So it allows someone, especially if you have access to like a server to upload this content to, look into that as a way
Wes,
to
you're
download.
Cutting out a little bit.
Oh, is it better? Worse? No.
So what I got was download LSF packaging so that you can share large files with each other.
Yes. Thank you. Yep. Because like, especially like, I would sometimes get on and off the project with multivarious or a different game project when I used to teach with students, and a lot of times it was a pain for the first download, and it sometimes will still be. But once you've got the main files, that LSF will be really helpful later down the line.
Mhm.
So, cool. Looks like you got the project.
Yep, got the project here. So Shield, what kind of thing do you want me to do here?
Well, I'm the artist in this situation, and you're the programmer.
Okay, great, fantastic. Then I shall program. I shall create a sprite, and it shall be beautiful and glorious.
Oh, I think he just complimented you, Shield, on your artwork.
Only programmers can make art and make it better.
Oh, they
All
can.
right. Let's see. Oh, my inspector window floated all the way over here. All right, is that there? That's there. Hey, there it is. Look at that. Oh, I can sort of stretch it and make it look wonky. Okay, sorry. Okay, so I now have a little character here. And of course, I can do anything that I needed to in Unity. I can add, et cetera, ad nauseum to code and scripts, et cetera, et cetera. I'm not going to bore you with all that because you all know can figure out how to do that on your own. This is a Git tutorial after all. So we'll go ahead and save. So we got our guy here. Gonna save our scene. Actually, do I have, this is not the sample scene. Okay. Yeah, here we go. All right. So here's our dude. Okay. All right. Is that enough? Does that look good? Look like some changes.
Sure. You changed the sample scene, and you added a sprite.
It's a sample scene.
Or just like add a simple script, like a default script or something.
Okay. Oh, I can do that. All right. So script. Okay. Let's do. Oh, there's no script folder. I'm just gonna abandon all hope. You enter here and create a new one in the root folder because I like anarchy.
You should start with an uppercase letter and end with all lower cases afterwards.
Even I can't do that. Even I cannot. I cannot break the rules of the camel case.
The world will open
I only
up
do
and
that
you'll be
when
engulfed.
I have caps.
Oh, naturally do it with caps locks on. I love it.
Caps lock, yeah.
Screaming snake case,
So-
all caps with underscore.
Oh, screaming snake case.
Okay. Let's see here. Where is my? Okay, so similarly, if I go back to my old terminal prompt guy here, I can do a get status, and that will allow me to see all that's going on here. Oh, shoot. I didn't actually do the update for the metal files because I didn't have that setting turned on, which, thank you. That is a super cool thing I did not know about. How do you get to it? It's like...
Editor and version control and asset serialization.
So you want visible meta files.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. No,
And we want force text for the next one.
Looks like you got it set up.
Got that one.
Yeah.
Okay. I guess I do. Very cool. Just wanted to make sure I wasn't going to commit something weird. All right. So if I do a get add, I'm not here to teach you all of these commands. You can all learn them on your own someday. But essentially what I'm doing is I am doing the same thing that the desktop piece was doing. I'm adding the files. And so I can see, get add, there we go. So now I can see that I have, there was a new folder that got deleted. Okay, I have updated. So you'll see there's modified. I have modified the sample scene. And I have added the new script file. And that script file comes with its own meta file. So these are the kind of three important pieces. So I'm going to now add all of this stuff to the project. So I'll modify the scene, and I will add the new file here. So git commit, and here's our thing about good hygiene in our git commit messages. Let's see, add it, again. As soon as you try to type live, you can't type. It's sort of an
Yeah.
unwritten rule of the
Well,
universe.
it's a lag.
Added new script. Script me. Yeah. All right. Okay, so now I have one commit, and now I'm going to do a good old git push origin master. And ta-da!
So yeah, if you're
There we
following
are.
along, it's the same process. You create a commit, you describe the commit. It's kind of like holding it into like this cell before you push it up to the cloud somewhere, and then you tell it push it. Make it up there for someone else to take. So.
And actually, what we can show is if we go up here to our test project, we can actually see that Caleb Eno just committed this 1 minute ago. And if I go into assets, and I can see here is script me right there. So that's actually now available. But so it's available for me because I have it. It's available up there because I've pushed it up there. But Shield doesn't have it on his machine yet, so he needs to do an extra step to get it. So Shield,
All right,
take it
so
away.
my screen on the thing now.
It is now.
All right, so here I don't see any updates. Where's your update at? I have no idea. Well, it turns out that Git sometimes and sometimes does not actually tell you if there's an update that you have to download. So what you have to do is you have to click Fetch Origin, and this will update the variables inside the program, seeing if there's been an update. So now I see there's been a change that has been on the cloud that I do not have yet. So it's going to ask me to pull. And this is the number of commits that has been committed that I have not pulled yet. So that's one. So only one commit. So I'm going to click that, and I'm going to get all the changes that Caleb just made. Refresh repository. And then if I look in the history, I can see that here's my changes, and now here's Caleb's changes right here. So yeah, now we both have all the changes. One thing I wanted to point out before we go is that sometimes people get confused about the process. Like they'll select the files and then try to press fetch origin or something similar to that, or like commit to master and then forget to sync the files. So just make sure that you select the files and the changes that you want to make, and then you press commit to master and then fetch origin. So I'm going to take Caleb's files. I'm going to edit it, and I wanted to show you that you don't always have to. Well, actually, that's really a GitHub thing. Never mind. That is basically the. Oh yeah, I have to reload the scene because he changed the scene. That is basically like the basics of how to use Unity GitHub together. What?
Right.
What is this? Where'd the new folder come from? Oh, I think I accidentally made that. So now, following this tutorial, you should be able to know how to make a project in Unity and then make the repository in GitHub. And then you should be able to commit files from Unity into GitHub and add collaborators to the project, have them download the file, and use that in Unity and share files in between like that. The only thing we didn't cover was branches and merge conflicts. Those are the other two topics that I think are essential to know. But if you don't ever run into merge conflicts and you don't ever make branches, you can still make a project just okay. I hear Google actually has one repository for all their projects that they commit everything into. I don't know how that works, but apparently they don't even have branches.
That sounds scary.
I will say one thing. I'll say one thing as well is that, like, if you're everything that you've learned so far, like if you were a single person working on a single project, like you can do this basically, and you're only like using one computer. You're not sharing things back and forth between computers. It's really pretty much not much more complicated than this. You work on stuff, you create a commit, you push it up, and it's really straightforward. And I highly encourage you to do this. Having version control on any project is really important, because it'll totally save your bacon.
Especially if you have code, because a lot of times, because a computer can read, text-based images, they can show you exactly what in lines of code you've changed in some graphical client program interfaces. So like if you're like, oh man, I feel like I deleted something wrong, you can see that without having to open up an external tool that is like WinMerge sometimes allows you to do that, but it's really helpful for code because you can revert back and you can grab snippets of it. And it's especially like working as you go, like you're just human, right? You think you've uploaded everything, but you're not 100% sure. It's doing something in source control is really helpful because it will tell you what's changed, and that's where it'll save you a lot of time at the end. Something else I wanted to note as a comment.
Now, once you actually start getting into doing collaborations, that will make a really
yeah. So Tyler was saying LFS was a stumbling block because they started using GIMP in 2015 and got a bunch of 1 gigabyte Photoshop files. Yeah. So just to kind of help, like LFS is made for like mainly just for graphical large files, right? They can be movies, sound effects, and whatnot. They will add, like they do have a history, right? And maybe they're compressed a certain way to make them smaller, but for the most part, they're there to be grabbed at the initial start of a project. So if I was a new developer on a Unity project for you, and you say you have 20 gigs worth of just graphic artwork that needs to be downloaded, I would grab that first, right? And that might take a little while, but afterwards, hopefully that won't be as long as I would the next couple of times. But I will say that in my experience, it's if you are working on files that are large, like say if it's, like you said, it was a 1 gigabyte Photoshop file, it's still probably a good idea to keep your own versions of that locally on your machine and not add it to the source tree unless they're extremely essential for the project to have all those version histories, because they can add to the amount of files that you need to download every single time. I had an issue with that, like working on a project where I would work on a video and upload it. Then my programmer was like, good Lord, this thing's like 80 gigs. And I'm like, that's weird. that seems really large. And so at the end of the project, what we decided to do was something called cherry picking, which allows you to remove certain history. Now be careful because you want to make sure you're not removing something you don't want, which is something I learned, working in that process. I deleted something I wasn't supposed to. At the end of the day, you should always have two things. You should have a version on your computer, and then you should always have a version on the cloud that people can grab from. And the idea that is meant to be everybody has a version of the project somewhere, which is great, especially when you're working on a team, because then that means that if so-and-so's computer crashes, right, on your team, you're like, oh my gosh, we just lost everything. Well, if they push to the cloud, everybody can grab exactly what they have. And that's the whole point. That's another like advantage of source control, is that you never get this hit by a bus syndrome. As long as everybody's pushed what they have their files up to the cloud, everybody will have that version. But yeah, again, with LFS, like, maybe you don't need the 20 versions of like the subtle brushstrokes of painting someone's eyeball that you just thought that you needed for yourself, or that you were done at the end of the day and you decided to save. You may not need every version of that, but if you say, okay, I've got the first character done and I want it to send that out for the programmer to play around with, maybe that's a good version to put up and actually store into the LFS. So it's a balance, right? Definitely code, text-based stuff, just throw that up. That's going to be small stuff that's not going to really make a large impact on the history that you have to download. Assets-wise, you just have to kind of think about what makes the most sense. Like when I do like 3D modeling stuff, I have a version on my desktop and I also save that like to my personal hard drive somewhere else. And then when I have a finalized version that I want to push up, I throw that into Unity and let that be the model and asset that I throw up to the cloud. Because I can always make changes. And then if I have another 3D artist that comes on board, I have a backup that I can share with them, say on an external resource like Google Drive or something else like that, that may make more sense for that team member, right? So it's no right or wrong way. You just have to think about and understand how source control is being used. And at the very most, like, get the important stuff up there, things that you know that's going to take a long time to recreate if you were to ever lose it. So yeah, those are the things that it really helps with, rather than just being in your
I have a funny
machine.
story.
Yeah, oh, go ahead, Shield.
I have a funny story about backups. So,
Go ahead, Shield.
did you hear that the Toy Story 2 almost didn't get released on time?
Yeah.
Yeah. This is a funny story. They had all their assets and everything, all our video files on this one server. Someone did a SQL command that accidentally deleted all of the files. Instead of like in the certain server, they were in the wrong server and they deleted all the Toy Story files.
Yeah.
So they're like, okay, no problem, let's go to our backup system. But it turns out the backup system had been down for over a month. And the people who were supposed to respond to the memo didn't actually respond to it. So it was like, oh no, we lost all of our files. What are we going to do? It turns out the lead animator actually had a home computer that had all the files on it from like a month ago. So they lost like a month's worth of work, but they were able to like release on time despite that.
Yeah, I had the same thing because we were supposed to be backing up stuff and it wasn't backing up correctly on our server. Because I work on my day job, I work in e-learning, and they back up in a server in an office in a physical location. And sometimes they say, well, the backup wasn't working. I'm like, well, good thing I saved the project on my hard drive. They're like, what? I'm like, yeah, sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. Yeah, it saved my butt a couple of times. So yeah, especially if you're working in software in any capacity, backups are your friend. I know they can get messy at times and they can be like hogs, but how cheap memory is today, there's kind of no excuse. I've actually switched over from Dropbox to Google Drive just as a preference. And I just realized I wasn't using Dropbox, even though I had 2 terabytes of information. I would back stuff up, but I just kind of combined my online sources for things and just used Google Drive and upgraded my system there for like a terabyte or 2. And it's cheap. It's like super cheap. Like you can get 100 gigs for like $3 a month. And now I've got a terabyte for like $10 a month. So yeah, there's a lot of ways you can do it.
I got like you can get like a 50 terabyte hard drive from Best Buy for like $50, like a whole 1 terabyte hard drive. Like they actually like have like a terabyte hard flash drive that are like the size of regular flash drives now. And like, whoa, that's tiny with that much info. That's amazing.
Micro Center, I think, has a 256.
Throw out one more thing about source control.
Yeah.
Wes, is that all right? Yeah. So if I can throw out one more thing about source control, the thing to know about source control is that it's not a silver bullet. It is not something that is designed to be like bulletproof. It's always going to work every time. It's always going to do exactly what you're hoping for. Then there's, as we've looked in the chat, there's like all kinds of different options that are available to you, all kinds of different resources that are available to you. The thing that is really important, and this is actually probably true about most tools, is that you want to understand what your tools are, agree together as a team what you're going to use, and make sure everybody understands how to use that. And even with a given tool, understand what the rules and guidelines are for how your team is going to use that tool. And those are the kind of things that are really important. So, we've run situations before where we used Git in a global game jam. And we had a scene and somebody was working in that scene, and then somebody else was working in the same scene. Person A commits all of their stuff. person B commits all of their stuff. Person's B changes overwrote all of person A's changes, and so it's lost hours of work. So we had to come up with a system where it was like, okay, I have a physical object. We call this the scene key, and only one person can work in the scene at a time. No one else is allowed touching our main scene unless you have the physical scene key. And it's just sort of those things where there's like different behaviors or patterns that you can establish as a team to say, this is how we are going to operate as a team, depending on the benefits and limitations of the tools that you choose. So it's just a matter of having like an understanding of what all that you're using and how you're going to use it. So that's something that's really important to decide. It's not going to be a silver bullet solution, whatever you're using.
Yep, I agree. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, try it out. I mean, I think the big thing is like, okay, so a lot of this information can be daunting if you've never used this before. But what I would say, especially as coming from an artist, I would say just try to give it a try. Like this simple setup, we'll have this video up if you kind of want to go back and take a look at it. There's tons of resources out there. There's no right or wrong way to do it, but I think, yeah, you do want to think about your pipeline and who you're working with, or if you're just working by yourself. But don't be daunted by this process, because I guarantee that once you understand how to use this, it's going to be so beneficial for your pipeline project. You'll probably actually ask yourself why you'd never used it in the first place, if you don't. I mean, I think a lot of us on this call, this meeting or whatever, do. Like, and that's great. That's really great. But you know, there's parts of the company where I work at, because we don't use source control where I work at. A lot of what we have are just, I know, it sounds crazy.
Heresy.
It sounds crazy, but it kind of makes sense. It kind of makes sense. We actually really don't have any, if we do have some programmers, but they're more on the server side, so they probably use source control in their environment. But as a designer, and an animator and a developer in that instance, we have single files that contain the entire project, because it's usually just a project file, like it's a PowerPoint or some other kind of software that we're using. So even though those do make sense, they don't necessarily work too much in our environment. But I would
Do you
personally
guys use SharePoint?
No. We use a
at all?
No, we use a network server.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So we probably should. But yeah, it's a little bit different too, because right now it's not nearly as fast. But when we're in the office with that network drive right there next to us, it's super fast. It's like working on my desktop. So that was the trade-off. It is harder to manage, because if something breaks down, we're the ones to fix it. But you know, I think that I would still prefer to have a source control environment, because like right now, where we upload files weekly since we've been working from home, and I will say that it is a pain. Sometimes almost half my day is gone uploading files. And it's not necessarily like, I can be fairly sure, like 90% sure that everything I'm uploading is okay, but source control will tell me everything that's changed. And because we're doing it manually, I can't always guarantee. Now, granted, for me, I am using OneDrive, so everything I'm working in is actually backed up in a network cloud. But you know, I still want to upload stuff manually just to make sure it's there on our server. But I would personally prefer to work in source control, because I think that it would make me feel more comfortable knowing that a computer is going to tell me, at least describe to me what it thinks is the change, rather than me trying to remember what I did on Monday on a Friday night. Did I change that? I have to look at the date modified files, and just it becomes a nightmare. So yeah, I mean, I'm not here to harp on why source control is great, but if I did, that's probably why. Yeah, did we have any other thoughts, questions, comments?
Yeah, so yeah, things about forks and branches and merge conflicts and stuff like that, but we don't have time to get in that today. Maybe later, but
yeah, maybe.
I'd say this is
to be continued.
A very informational presentation, and I actually learned a lot about Git that I didn't know about. Like, how to do the git commands or the git command line, and LFS. I didn't know about that before either. That sounds like another interesting thing we could go down before later. Well, thanks for being my presentation partner, Caleb, and thanks for your useful insights, Wesley.
Yeah, thanks for showing this, because this is something I think we've been wanting to do for a while. So now it can be recorded. And then here's what I would say is, if you guys have more in-depth conversations, like we can do another presentation on other things in the future, but I would definitely say join us in Discord. I think Caleb sent a invite if you're not there already. But we're going to be chilling out in the general chat channel and the voice channel. So if you guys want to talk there, if you want to catch up, if you want to talk about more Git stuff, or if you want to talk, I don't know if Andrew's going to be around, but if you want to talk more about Unity's scriptable objects concepts or anything else, like that's what they're there for. So usually, if you want to chat with us, we'll be there for a little bit longer. I'll probably be there until at least 4. So if you guys want to hang out for a little bit, definitely catch us out and then say hi, because it's nice to see everybody and it's nice to hear everybody. So if you can chime in to say hi, we'd love to hear from you. So cool. All right. Well, thanks, Shield, for showing that. Thanks, Caleb. I think that will kind of end our presentations today. But again, if you guys want to say hi to us in Discord, we'd love to see you, talk to you, and we'll have another meeting in about 2 weeks. We have our prototype in play. So what we've been doing for that is using our Discord channel to create people that are presenting content, a specific chat and voice channel for them to showcase their game. So if you have something you want to show off or show a progress of, use that. We had a lot of really good interactions last month, or I guess this month, I would say, the beginning of this month. So that is Friday, July 10th, and that'll be from 6 to 9 p.m. right in our Discord channel. It won't be recorded. I think that's something we're planning on doing. This is recorded just so that people have the resource to go back to. So don't feel like obligated to look nice or anything like that. You don't have to. It won't be, look nice for whoever's coming in, I guess. But basically, if you can share your screen and you have a mic, and you have something digital you want to showcase, and even if it's a tabletop thing that you can use your webcam to show, if it's easy enough to look at, join us. Let us know, and then let Caleb, Scott, or I know if you're interested, and we'll put you in the docket. We'll name the channel specifically what you're presenting, and kind of be jumping in and out to help you guys out throughout the night. And it should be fun, just a nice, fun game night at the end of the Friday evening, and just have a lot of blasts. So this is great. I love the drawing where it's coming to. Have a nice day. So cool. All right. Cool. So here's our last slide for the day. You can always catch us at the COGG.com. Eventually that'll be a resource for all our information. Right now that's for our events. So that is updated in real time. If you're curious on what our next event is, it'll be up there. When we do have our Let's Play series, we'll also put that up on the Meetup page as well. And again, we'll put up information on our Discord, on our Meetup, and on our Facebook page consistently, just to make sure everybody's in the loop. So cool. Any last minute things, Caleb, before we say ciao?
No, I think we're good.
Cool.
Thanks, everyone. Cheers. We'll see you on Discord.
Yep. Hope you guys enjoyed yourselves. This will be uploaded soon. And if you have any questions, catch us up on Discord. I will talk to you guys later. Have a good one. Bye-bye. I feel like there should be outro music. Do 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 do.